The word entertaining would be an understatement when used to describe Jaylen House on the court. What Jaylen lacks in size and athleticism, he makes up for with great passion and heart on both ends of the floor. The Arizona State commit has gained a huge following because of his raw emotion on the court and his electric style of play. But how good is Jaylen House? I'll be breaking down Jaylen's game on both offense and defense to give you an idea of what Jaylen's strengths are and also where he needs to improve on as a basketball player moving forward. Jaylen really shines as a player on the defensive end. The 6-foot guard doesn't let his size stop him from locking up a ball handler. He loves taking on the challenge of shutting down the best player on the opposing team, and more times than not, Jaylen holds his own on defense. Jaylen slides his feet very well, his anticipation in the passing lanes is impressive, and his active hands makes him really good at pickpocketing ball handlers. Jaylen's aggressiveness on defense alone will earn him minutes at the next level, and more importantly help Arizona State win some games next year. You can't teach the natural instincts that Jaylen has on defense. You either have it or you don't, simple as that. And since Jaylen is currently averaging 5 steals per game over his high school career, it's safe to say that Jaylen has that it factor. Moving on to Jaylen's potential as a scorer, despite his occasional streakiness, Jaylen has shown he can go off for big scoring performances, and pretty efficiently I might add. He's currently shooting 48% from the field and 39% for 3 for shot amount this year, which are both career best so far. As a driver, Jaylen is very crafty with the ball, he knows the right angles to attack the defense, and he has a solid touch around the rim. He's learning how to be more poised when attacking, and his floater game is coming along very nicely. As a shooter, Jaylen is a dual threat, heating up off the dribble or in catch and shoot situations. He has a quick release and great arc on his jump shots, plus he's picking his spots on the floor on mid-range pull-ups much better now than in previous years. Jaylen is a really tough cover for a defender because his quickness and tight handle forces you to give him space, but his solid shooting also forces you to respect his shot. Despite his iffy shot selection and decision making, Jaylen is a player that you have to respect on offense. Jaylen has also shown growth as a floor general, averaging a career best 6 assists per game. He's solid at setting up teammates in the half-court set and in transition. He isn't necessarily a pure point guard, his style of play favors scoring a little more, but he's far from a selfish player. He knows how to run an offense and make the players around him better. He still needs some developing at the 1 spot of course, but he still has potential to be a really good Division I point guard. Jaylen's biggest weakness has to be his consistency around the rim, especially versus length or against a stronger player. He can get to the rim whenever he wants, but when Jaylen gets there, he comes up short way too often. He weighs somewhere between 150 and 160, so he's a smaller guy that isn't very physical. He's bumped off course when driving pretty often, and when he attempts to finish amongst the trees, he tends to avoid contact, which leads to some pretty wild layup attempts. Now the issue here is consistency, like I said. Jaylen isn't a bad finisher. I've seen Jaylen finish strong at the hoop more than a few times. But right now it's important for Jaylen to bulk up and learn how to be more efficient around the rim, especially with contact. And I've also noticed that Jaylen sometimes attacks the rim with no real plan. He gets himself in tough situations when penetrating, which leads to forced shots or turnovers. He does get in habits of trying to do too much on offense, which is common for young guards, but still something he can improve on. And staying on the topic with his decision making, Jaylen's shot selection can be pretty bad from 15 feet and beyond. He's a highly confident player that tries to get things going on offense right away, but he needs to do a better job of letting the game come to him. More than a few times I've seen Jaylen jack up quick shots in transition or shoot ill-advised threes in the half-court set instead of getting movement on offense. Like I said earlier, he isn't a pure point guard, so he still has a ways to go when it comes to maturity, decision making, and shot selection. Well, here's my verdict. Jaylen House is one of the most hardworking, energetic, and exciting players in high school basketball without a question. He's a small guard with a lot of heart that doesn't back down from anyone. His antics may be a little extra, but more times than not, Jaylen backs up his talk with great play. He's a solid floor general that can lock down on defense and go off for crazy scoring performances. Long term, Jaylen needs to focus on his decision making at the 1 spot, and more importantly, not letting his emotions get the best of him on the court. With a good coach who knows how to handle a personality like Jaylen, then I think Jaylen will really flourish at the college level. He can score, he can defend, he's not selfish, and he's an extremely hard worker. With all those great qualities, I don't see why Jaylen wouldn't have a great college career.